A picture story of the United States, an unknown sea, an unknown continent. 4 centuries, mysterious and seemingly endless sea. For centuries, Europeans stared at the blue water stretching west and wondered what, if anything, lay beyond. Many thought it ended at the lip of a flat world. Stories filled the deep with monsters. Then, the Dark Ages thinned, navigators grew bolder, and men began to cross that endless sea. Around the year 1000, Viking crews from Scandinavia made the dangerous crossing. Sailor, at bow, it's a beautiful land. Leif Erikson, look at the trees, the vines. Leif Erikson, we'll call it Vineland. But they didn't stay. Vineland slipped back into fog and story. 4 centuries later, in Genoa, a boy named Columbus found a book that lit his imagination. Travels of Marco Polo. Marco Polo wrote of China's silks, paper, printing. Kublai Khan, where do you come from, stranger, and why? Marco Polo, from Venice, Great Khan to see Cathay. He wrote of India too, bazaars, temples. In Genoa's market, he saw silks and spices that had traveled deadly overland routes, and as he grew up, an idea took shape. In Genoa's marketplace, the boy Columbus watched silk shimmer and smelled spices that had crossed mountains and deserts. And slowly, quietly, he began to imagine another way east. Columbus, if the world is round, couldn't you reach the east by sailing west? Monk, in principle yes, but no one will believe you. They didn't believe him. Hunting patrons for a voyage to prove it drove him to Portugal, then Spain. Courtier blue, poor devil's mad, thinks the earth is round. Courtier rough, pity, harmless enough otherwise. Columbus was leaving Spain in despair when a summons came from Isabella. Queen Isabella, I believe you, Christopher. You'll have your ships and men. Columbus, may the Queen of Heaven bless your majesty. Legend says she sold her jewels to pay for the westward voyage. August 3, 1492. August 3, 1492. Columbus left Palos with 88 men in 3 small ships, the Niña, Pinta, and Santa Maria. He had no idea a whole continent sat between Europe and the Indies he was chasing. Days passed. The fearful crew grew mutinous. Day on day, fear curdled into mutiny. Mutineers, turn back. We demand you turn back. Mutineers, we'll sail off the edge of the world. Turn back. Columbus, hold west, helmsman. 70 days in mutiny so close they might have killed him. Sailor, I see a light. It has to be land. Next morning, October 12, 1492. Next morning, October 12, 1492. Columbus, I name this shore San Salvador, in gratitude to him who brought us here. Crewman, look, these copper-skinned folk must be Indians. He thought he'd made the Indies. He'd actually stepped onto a Bahamian island first toehold on a continent no European chart yet named. Columbus went home to Spain, to crowns and praise. Then 3 more voyages missed the Orient's gold, and the hero they'd cheered became a punchline, the Admiral of Mosquitoland. In 1506, still not grasping what he'd unlocked, he died, broke and forgotten. He wouldn't even get the naming rights. Another Italian, Amerigo Vespucci, followed his wake. In 1507, a German mapmaker redrew the world. Since Amerigo found it first on paper, why not call the land after him? America. 1497, John Cabot skirts North America for England, staking a claim in ink and nerve. 1534, Cartier shoulders up the St. Lawrence for France. 1520, Cortés tears the Aztec Empire open for Spain. Same year, Ponce de Leon chases mythic youth through Florida for Spain. Others sailed too, but Spain led, her southern colonies fattened. 1565, miniature St. Augustine on the Florida coast becomes the first foothold that will echo forward into the United States. 1607, a company drops a handful of settlers at Jamestown. The colony stumbles out of the gate. Official, no private plots. Everyone eats from the common store. Settler, why sweat so loafers can eat? No deed to soil means half-hearted shovels. The place nearly expires until reform splits ground into plots. Wives and children arrived, and each family was given its own tract. Family's land, each household draws its own strip. Settler, this dirt's ours. we'll grow the finest leaf in Virginia. And as soon, Jamestown prospered. Soon enough, Jamestown thrives. One morning, in 1609, a man-o'-war arrived from Africa. One morning in 1619, a man-of-war shows African shores on its wake. Captain Trader, 20 sold souls aboard. Who bids? Colonist green, good, they'll lighten our labor. Colonist red, slavery stains everyone, this day curdles. That same year another seed sprouts, in Jamestown's rough log church. Chair gentlemen, you're chosen to speak for your neighbors in this house of burgesses, from here you forge your own statutes. This was the first representative assembly of lawmakers in America. America's first elected lawmakers gather. Virginia isn't only merchants. Another English not once conscience first, separatists dubbed Pilgrims, bruised by the state church, exiled themselves to Holland. Elder, Holland shelters kind. We're still strangers here. I've been weighing the new world. Younger man, same, Will Bradford. Though the crossing will break our women's hearts. Woman, don't fret over us. September 1620, the stubby Mayflower packs 102 souls into wild Atlantic gray. Winds shunt them north. December 20th, they wade onto Plymouth's rim. Pilgrim, nothing ahead but ice-lock woods. Leader, Providence set our keel, here we plant. Half their company dies that winter. Pale spring finds crosses on the hill. Captain Standish, Mayflower sails for England. Do we leave with her, Governor Bradford? Governor Bradford, no. We stay with our buried. Spring climbs toward Summerfields thicken, neighbors thaw from foes to kin. Then autumn paints, New England red and gold for gathering. Pilgrim, what a feast day. Pilgrim, aye, but first, it's Thanksgiving. Pilgrim, praise the Lord who spared us and piled the table. America still marks this harvest. It's called Thanksgiving. A century of stubborn folk followed Jamestown and Plymouth, carving farms from forest for one stubborn prize, freedom to live and pray their way. North stacks towns and mills, South stays furrow rice, tobacco, cotton belts. 13 colonies accrete, mostly English oaths to the crown, yet Dutch, Swede, Scot, Seeker all pour in until a mongrel people forms, rough-handed, self-made, bowing to God alone. From that mash of creeds and accents rose a new breed, rough-handed, self-fed, answerable only upward. Far from crowns, hamlets ran themselves in open hall. Farmer, build the new road toward my farm. Moderator, schoolhouse first, that matters more. Rooms where every voice could wedge in. That scrap becomes democracy. Teaching every child wasn't garnish. It was load-bearing. 1635's Boston Free Latin School trumpets what becomes public education. Higher minds weren't ignored either. 1636 seeds, Harvard beside Boston. Freedom of religion, sadly, meant Massachusetts Puritan uniformity. Onlooker green, what'd he do? Onlooker purple, disagreed with Sunday's sermon, that's all. Some refused that creed, among them, Roger Williams' warrant signed for his collar. On a winter night in 1635. Winter night, 1635. Williams fled into the wilderness. Williams drives deeper into the wild. I'll plant a town where every conscience breathes, state out of the soul. Narragansett friends help him stake Rhode Island. Settler Penn, you'll need muskets against them. William Penn, no firearms policy. We treat neighbors as we'd be treated. Penn's golden rule. Treaty with the Indians was never broken. History claims Penn's golden rule treaty held. Philadelphia, Penn's city of brotherly love, writes the great law. Religious freedom, for all. Religious freedom for all. Right of the people to make their own laws. People craft their own statutes. Vocational. Instruction for all. Trade training for everyone. Prisons to be made into workshops. Jails become workshops. Hold on the face alone. Whatever sentence preceded this panel supplies the name. Here you only get gravity in wool and wig. 18th century. France and Britain's feud rattles the colonies. France hugs the river highway and the lakes. By 1750s they chained forts from Erie toward the Ohio. England insists that interior belongs to the crown. So they dispatch a rider toward Fort LeBoeuf, hands off, Paris is told. 300 miles of ridge and pine ahead. A 21-year-old D surveyor was chosen. They pick a surveyor, 21 years old. British officer, dangerous ride. Son, will you go? Young Washington? Gladly, sir. The messenger's name was George Washington. The courier's name, George Washington. Washington delivers the ultimatum. French shrugs and digs in at Fort Duquesne, modern Pittsburgh Scar. 1755, Britain marches to evict them. Braddock owns the column but not the woods. Washington rides scout. Washington, General, close ranks won't survive these trees. General Braddock, perhaps, but my men fight as drilled. French uniforms and woodland allies kneel behind trunk sights on scarlet. Soldier, Braddock's down, all's lost. Washington, not lost, scatter, use cover fight like they do. His bush tactics keep the Red Line from annihilation. 3 years on Duquesne Falls, 59 brings Quebec's cliffline fortress down. Britain's Jack snaps from Canada to Florida west to the Mississippi, almost unopposed. 3 years later, another British push takes Duquesne. In 1759, the great French bastion of Quebec was overthrown. 1759, the Quebec citadel falls. And the British flag flew unchallenged from. Meanwhile, a different sort of victory had been won in New York City. Meanwhile, New York wins a quieter fight. Governor, how dare the paper knife me? I'm the governor, arrest the editor. What's his name? Aide, John Peter Zenger, my lord. Judge, what defense do you offer, Mr. Zenger? John Peter Zenger. Only this, the press must tell truth even when it scalds power. The jury cuts him loose, and the free press thread stitches into the national quilt. Another printer's soul, Benjamin Franklin, Boston. Poor lands in Philadelphia at 17, with everything he owns in his arms. Girl in window, Mama, come see this odd creature in the road. Apprentice Ink becomes his own shop. The woman who once laughed at the street urchin marries him. His Pennsylvania Gazette became a leading newspaper. The Pennsylvania Gazette turns loud enough to echo colonies wide. Printer, hard words, Ben, unite or die. Benjamin Franklin, strong, because the provinces must stand as one. Let the machine speak, screw, lever, fresh pages, ink's muscle without a caption. Books mean London freight most can't buy. So Franklin seeds a farmer's almanac. Poor Richard, 1733. An almanac for the year of Christ, 1733. God helps them that help themselves. Diligence is the mother of good luck. Time is the stuff life is made of. Poor Richard's homely sayings were echoed throughout the colonies. Those kitchen proverbs echo in every colony kitchen. 1. Stormy day. One storm day. Boy, you like kites, Mr. Franklin? Benjamin Franklin. See that spark? That's lightning bottled, someday we'll steer it. News reaches Europe while a political storm stacks over 13 colony. Homemaker. You don't march mud through my door, orders or not. Official. Orders, ma'am, nothing personal. Woman with paper, must. We kiss the stamp on this receipt. Colonist. Law says, stamp, but law won't stick. Even London listens. Pitt carries colonial grievance into Parliament. William Pitt. For Englishmen, a locked door still sacred. Even George wouldn't kick it. Customs break that covenant. Fresh levies land. Overseas trade choked. Excisemen may rifle closets to prove it. Stamp dies. Tea tax replaces it. Boston's pier watches Mohawks board. Colonist. Let's brew the king's leaves in seawater. Colonist. Tax deaf ears. Get salt lesson. Retribution slams the harbor shut. 1774 delegates storm Philadelphia. Delegate. No tax without our nod. Delegate. No taxation without representation. Delegate. Boycott British goods. Meanwhile, this gathering was the First Continental Congress. First Continental Congress convenes. Virginia raises Patrick Henry's furnace voice. Patrick Henry. Is life worth chains? As for me, liberty or death. Angry colonies pack Philadelphia. 74. Delegate. no taxes without consent. Delegate, no taxation without representation. Delegate, boycott Britain. Meanwhile, this gathering was the First Continental Congress. That meeting names itself First Continental Congress. One night in a Boston tavern. One night in a Boston public room. Soldier, another round, mate? Soldier, no, up at dawn for Concord. Concord? The river towns have to know. Paul Revere silversmith hammers night toward Concord, 15 miles to go. Man in nightcap, quiet people are sleeping. Paul Revere, let them wake, the redcoats are coming. Today, by that quiet brook and graves on either shore, Emerson's verse waits engraved. Dawn march finds minute men planted at Concord Bridge. Militia. They step on timber, you fire. British officer, scatter, rebels. A short, but bitter skirmish followed, and the British retreated. Brief, bloody scrape. Then Scarlet pulls back. Today, pilgrims read Emerson between those graves. Here, once embattled farmers stood and fired the shot heard round the world. War opens. Second Congress meets 75 and taps George Washington to lead RAD volunteers. Under a great elm, at Cambridge, outside Boston. Under Cambridge's great elm, Boston's siege rim, George Washington, just cause, we bear arms for birthright liberty. E. A. Arley in 1776, a pamphlet called Common Sense appeared. 1776 opens with Paine's Common Sense. Reader, listen. Paine calls tyranny's foes to rise for mankind and free states. It voiced the thought in thousands of minds, independence. Thousands suddenly say independence aloud. Spring 1776. Richard Henry Lee of Virginia stands in Congress. Richard Henry Lee, I move that these united colonies are and ought to be free and independent states. They name a committee of 5, Franklin among them, to turn resolution into document. The pen goes to a 33-year-old scholar. Again, Lee rises in spring 76. Richard Henry Lee, free and independent states. Committee of 5, Franklin aboard the drafting lands on one scholar. Jefferson's shelves ran Voltaire, Locke, Descartes, Aristotle. Borrow every genius but phrase, America's mind. We hold these truths, equal creation, unalienable rights, life, liberty, happiness, governments from consent. 4th of July, 13 delegations adopt it. FROM Philadelphia's Town Hall, the Liberty Bell, the tidings. Philadelphia Hall, the Liberty Bell spreads the news. A new nation had been born, a nation newborn, endowed by their Creator with unalienable rights, life, liberty, pursuit, that to secure these rights. From Philadelphia's Town Hall, the Liberty belled the tidings. City Hall's bell carries the word outward. A new nation had been born. A nation just born. England sent heavy reinforcements to subdue the rebellious colonists. Britain floods troops to choke the rebellion. Newsreader, Washington's routed from New York across the Delaware now. Woman, remember Paine, times that try men's souls. Christmas night redcoats dream beside frozen Delaware. Washington steals back across. Soldier, hands are numb. Soldier, hush, sound carries. Surprise swallows. Trenton's camp revived hope in chests that shivered an hour ago. Summer 77. Burgoyne's host slides from Canada into the Hudson set to sever the Union in half. Pause on Marshall tinsel drumheads about to speak for Saratoga's chapter. Burgoyne's march gets chewed each mile. October narrows to Saratoga. First 13-star banner lifts here, each new state since earns another star. Officer, hold fire, they're quitting. Soldier thousands, can't credit my eyes. Soldier boys, this pivots the war. Burgoyne's stack of arms really does turn tide. Shortly afterward, at the court of France. Soon, Versailles hears. French King, Franklin. Tell Congress, France stands with you. Benjamin Franklin, Majesty, America won't forget. Nor forget Lafayette already in their ranks. Winter still bites. Valley Forge starves the army. Soldier, no stores, we're starving. I'm walking home. Soldier, talk sense. Look at Washington. It was the darkness that precedes the dawn. Dark before dawn, literally. There, on October 19, 1781. There, October 19, 1781. Cornwallis yields. The shooting war for independence ends. Free states act like rival nations. Jealous borders. Homemade script. Guard. Duty on Jersey potatoes. Traveler. We fought together. Let us trade. Delegate. States need tighter weave. Delegate. Need a referee above the states. Merchant. Trades frozen. Shopper. Script. Won't buy supper. Citizen. Nobody can cover notes. It looked as if the new nation were already falling apart. The Union looks ready to tear. 13 original colonies along the coast. Northwest Territory beyond. Great Lakes, Pink Wedge. Washington nudges from Mount Vernon. 87 Philadelphia Storm opening sessions. Delegate. Why equal votes when I'm 5 times your acreage? Delegate. Yet my mills outship yours 5-fold. Moderator. Gentlemen, please. After weeks of angry debate, the 84-year-old Benjamin Franklin rose. Weeks of spit, then 84-year-old Franklin rises. Benjamin Franklin. Plain both edges when boards won't meet. Each side yields shavings. His last gift, soon gone, mourned on both shores. They split the difference. People's House by head count. Senate 2 seats each. House by population. Senate paired 4 months later. Reader, we the people. More perfect union. Blessings of liberty. Ordain this Constitution. 1789 turns parchment into government. Not everyone cheers. Advocate. Congress writes. President executes. Court checks. Power split 3 ways. Skeptic. Still citizens need stronger shields. Religion. Speech. Press. Assembly. Sanctity of home. Unanimous choice. The father of his country. New York, 1789. George Washington. I solemnly swear to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. Crowd. Hooray for George Washington. Crowd. First in war, first in peace. Crowd. First in the hearts of his countrymen. Jefferson takes state, leads the party that wants power split wide among the states. Wagons cross the Alleghanies into the Northwest, southward. Families pour into Tennessee and Kentucky, where Daniel Boone already cut clearings. John. Good ground for a first home. Mary. Mary. Aye, if we're welcome. Settler. Welcome. That you are, friends. Neighbor. Mighty proud of this hamlet, Daniel. Daniel Boone. Getting crowded. I'm pushing west where a man can breathe. 2 terms. 8 years. Then refusal of a 3rd home to Mount Vernon as the century dies. He dies within sight of a Potomac boomtown slated to bear his name. Thomas Jefferson. So it should be. The country needs a wise, frugal government that stops injury and otherwise lets citizens steer their own work. 1801 brings a new president to a village capital. Bystanders, on foot, refused a carriage, they say. Bystanders, homespun coat. Jefferson's the people's man. Visitor. Yours is a regime of great simplicity, President Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson. So it should be. All we need is wise, frugal rule that restrains harm and leaves men free to pursue their own callings. Under Jefferson, the African slave trade import ends by law. Harbor officer. This harbor is closed to you. Officer or sailor, glad that traffic in human beings stopped. A Hudson River trial would steer how the nation spreads. Woman, there. Robert Fulton's steamboat. Skeptic, Fulton's folly I call it. Cheerer, folly, nothing, watch her fly. Jefferson's crown jewel buying Louisiana from Napoleon, lately Spain's doubling the map. Jefferson's prize, Louisiana from Napoleon. Spain's cession rerouted, size doubled. Jefferson sends Lewis and Clark Sacagawea guiding over the Rockies to saltwater. Explorer, there, the Pacific. What a sight. Explorer, folks back home, scarce guess how wide this land runs. Britain claims right of search for Royal Navy runaways. Yet Yankee tars get swept too. American sailor, hands off. I'm a free citizen. British officer, says you march. Resentment boils to war in 1812. Neither capital truly craves it. Canada fronts rack up British wins, yet the salt promises surprise. Young Navy racks wins. Constitution smashes Guerriere. Sailor. Good old Constitution. Ironsides. Old Ironsides still rides as a shrine. After D.C. burns, Baltimore's night barrage draws Francis Scott Key's sleepless eyes. Francis Scott Key, the flag still flies, we held. On a scrap envelope he drafts the anthem we still stand for. 'Tis the Star-Spangled Banner, long may it wave. New Orleans becomes the loudest fight. Jackson's riflemen shred the redcoat column. Officer, green troops maybe, dead shot certain, General. Irony, Ghent signed weeks earlier. Atlantic lag hides the truth. James Monroe swears before a scorched dome, the rebuild barely begun. James Monroe, if these foundations outlasted flame, so will the Union. Peace buys the press label era of good feelings. James Monroe, Europe replanting colonies here endangers us. London backs the warning. The Monroe Doctrine shields sister republics. National Road cuts Allegheny Woods. By 25, it bridges Maryland to the Mississippi. Banjo player, Pac West. Illinois waits. Cabins rise that will read Chicago on the map. New states drag slavery front and center. Northern conscience versus Southern cotton math after Whitney's gin. Missouri knocks as slave. Congress explodes. Henry Clay stands. Henry Clay, slave line south of the bargain-free soil north, forever. Votes seal it. A pause, not peace. The cynics age correct. Westward seats reopen. Slavery. Moral fight meets cotton cash. Gin tilted the ledger south. Henry Clay Missouri line south stays slave. The northern wedge stays clean. Missouri slave bid jams Congress. Clay labeled compromiser rises. Henry Clay, let the South line enter with slavery. Ban it across the rest of the West. Passed and branded temporary truce. History agrees. Sections may spat, but every lane cheers the old revolutionary's return. Host, Marcus old comrades ring you. Heaven keep you and yours. 1825 ditch 363 miles. Hudson to Great Lakes. Deckhand, your New York plow, delivered. Farmer, and I'm hauling wheat east. 5 years on. English steam trials outside Baltimore stitched tighter. Traveler, what on earth is that? Boy, Peter Cooper's Tom Thumb outruns the horses. Ballots lift Andrew Jackson, first true backwoods chief. Crowd, hooray hero of New Orleans. Crowd, hooray for Old Hickory. Jackson tears at the National Bank, few hands on the nation's purse. It was a popular move. As this cartoon of the day indicated. Cartoons say the crowd loved the wrecking ball. Tariffs pit plantation against mill nullifiers breeds secession. Hayne talks, Webster answers. Robert Y. Hayne, state liberty ranks above union. Daniel Webster, no liberty and union together, now and forever inseparable. Andrew Jackson, the union must hold. Jackson's stare keeps the states in harness. Later tariff trims ease the sting. Texas fresh to the flag border sparks. 46 declares war army slog toward Mexico City. And its fall, in 1847, end dead. The short, unpopular war. 47 capital falls. Short, ugly war folds. Soldier, look at those towers. Soldier, Montezuma's halls. Treaty halls, California and New Mexico. North settlers already dug in. Cash settles the deed. Pioneer pushbutts. Canada and Mexico. Oregon split at 46 Southern fight stays hot. Texas sequel repeats. The Lone Star fuse and marching orders. Ian, 1848. A.T. Sutter's Mill in California. 1848. Sutter's Mill race. Worker. What's this yellow grit? Partner. That's gold, man. Rumor draws thousands continent and Europe to California dust. Miner. Kings in London and Paris. We're rich. Miner. Not me. I'm buying dirt here. Orange, rose, and vines. Few strike bonanza. Most breakbacks. Farmers who stay reap soil wealth. Day ADS of progress. In many fields. Days of progress in many fields. A few years earlier between Baltimore and Washington. Earlier between Baltimore and Washington. Passerby, what are they stringing? Passerby, Crackpot Professor Morse says words can ride copper. May 24, 44 suits, watch Morse tap the first key. Official, they're out to Baltimore and back. Official, what's it say? Samuel Morse, it reads, What hath God wrought? In 1846, A.T.A. Hospital. In Boston, 1846, Boston Ward. Surgeon, under yet? Assistant, yes, Dr. Morton sleeps, no pain. Morton's ether means the knife need not torture. Horace Mann, free citizens must shed ignorance before they vote. Horace Mann pushes tax-backed classrooms open to every child. 1848 convention demands ballots. Amelia Bloomer's trousers walk the talk. We want to vote. Steam presses cheapen news. Penny sheets everywhere. Reader, Herald, can't stomach the Sun. Reader, both papers. I read both sides. Factories breed unions. Philadelphia 35 sets pace. Union rep, brothers, the 10-hour day is ours. Worker, no more dawn to dark shifts. Hold the engraved face. Irving Blot follows same page if you need the name spoken aloud. Silent cameo, let surrounding captions supply identity when cutting master track. Another bracketed face waiting on the page's printed introductions. P.E. Opal. Everywhere. Read the stories of Washington, Irving. Readers everywhere devour Washington Irving. SUCH as R.I.P. Van Winkle. Rip Van Winkle among them. Cooper's leather, stocking tails spin Natty Bumppo through frontier scrapes. Painters band into art unions. Cheap prints hang in parlors. Artist. We earn bread and teach walls to sing. Mid-century chromos crowd 20,000 hearths. Bingham fur traders ride every mantle. Abolitionists spurn more deals. Boston's Garrison sets type for war of words. William Lloyd Garrison wrote in his newspaper. Continued from Garrison's Liberator. Henry Clay, Free California, popular sovereignty elsewhere. The Liberator promises slavery ends now. No conditions. Fugitive Slave Act bites. Abolitionists run a lantern railroad underground. Conductor, that lights your station shelter ahead. Luck. Daughter, father, that's illegal. Mother, many hearts answer to law higher than parchment. A book appeared in 1852 and swept the country. 1852 novel floods parlors. Reader, tears fall. Slavery's horror on every page. Reader, they say it exaggerates, still it moves the country. Dred Scott begs freedom for Free Soil years. Court refuses, the ground shakes. Citizen, ruling throws the whole West to slavery. Citizen, tear the verdict down. Then, out of Illinois, a clear voice came. Then, Illinois lifts a clean voice. Abraham Lincoln, a house split, cannot stand. Republic, can't live half slave, half free. The speaker was Abraham Lincoln. The speaker, Abraham Lincoln. Icon face before the backwoods story. Let the next panels supply words. Teen axe bit deep enough to raise a cabin log by log. Thomas Lincoln. Good work, Abe. Fine chopper someday. Nancy Lincoln. I dream bigger chores for him. Mother Seeds, book Hunger borrowed leaves. Firelight instead of tallow. Mother. Enough study bed. Young Lincoln, due back at dawn. Young Lincoln floats a Mississippi flatboat south. Deckhand, who are those unhappy souls? Deckhand, slaves. Glad Illinois bans it. Right, Abe? Young Lincoln, it shouldn't live anywhere. Give me a shot and I'll swing hard. Working at humble jobs. By day, Lincoln taught himself law. By night. Day's odd job. Nights, Blackstone by lamplight. Springfield shingle politics. 58. Senate run. He and Stephen Douglas trade legendary debates. Abraham Lincoln. We split on whether slavery's sin. Our side names it moral, social, political evil. Lincoln was defeated, but 2 years later. Lincoln loses 2 years later. Hamilton's heirs, New Republicans, meet in Chicago. Delegate, I nominate Abraham Lincoln for president. Low, crowd, second. Crowd, hooray, Honest Abe. Crowd, hooray, next president. Splintered foes, gift him the chair. slavery and states' rights tearing the hour darkest. Lincoln's win triggers Carolina bolt. 10 neighbors join. Confederacy stitched. Texas through Virginia labeled on the rebel band. Secession map anchors the story. Confederacy proclaimed. Southern hearts divide. State loyalty wins. April 12, Charleston Harbor. Shells batter, Sumter garrison stayed. War opens. First clash at Bull Run, gray shirts, shoulder. Washington blue waves charge. Union soldier, they push us back. Union soldier, hold Jackson stands like a stone wall. The Confederates rallied and put the Union forces to rout. Gray rally blue flight. Jackson earned Stonewall dies later, remembered on both banners. Lee stacks wins. Lincoln taps Illinois shopkeeper Grant. On January 1, 1863. January 1, 63. Proclamation orders slaves held in rebellion free. Lincoln signs. After the statue, Emancipation, by Thomas Ball. Thomas Ball's Emancipation statue echoes the decree. Emancipation. Proclamation. I order and declare all persons held as. That spring, Lee drives north into Pennsylvania. Meade waits by Gettysburg. Gettysburg Day, 3 desperate gamble. 15,000 walk the mile, courage spent, picket fails, tide turns. There Lincoln later made his Gettysburg address. Later, Lincoln consecrates the field in sentences. Abraham Lincoln, dead, not vain, new freedom, birth government of, by, for the people endures. Grant piles strength toward Richmond wilderness chokes the road. Officer, sir, the wilderness butcher's bill. Ulysses S. Grant, then we hold this line through summer. MEAM. Will, farther south. Farther south meanwhile. Officer, Saltwater, General Glorious. William T. Sherman, no glory war is hell. Sherman slashes Georgia Atlanta falls. Lee's rail seaver. 9 months. Lee shields Richmond, empty stores. April 9. Appomattox. Robert E. Lee, no more blood. I surrender. Ulysses S. Grant, send them home. Keep horses for spring plowing. 4 years end freedom's rebirth promised. 5 days after Lee's surrender. 5 nights after Appomattox. Guest, enjoying the play. Lincoln's. Abraham Lincoln, very first laugh in ages. Lincoln, attended a Washington theater. Into the box. Ford's theater box, into the box. A crazed actor crept. He carried a pistol. Mad actor slips in pistol cocked. Audience, the president, shot. Within a few hours, Abraham Lincoln was dead. Hours later, Lincoln is gone. Johnson pleads charity. Radicals demand revenge. Ex-rebels lose ballots. Freedmen gain them. Carpetbag arithmetic poisons recovery. Reconstruction tastes bitter. Defeated Confederate, 2 sons buried. Ballot stripped. Schemer, you'll be mayor. Schemer, we'll whisper your lines. Black citizen, sir, I can't read. Night riders answer rage. Others hunt daylight remedy. Amon G. Them was a self-educated former slave. Booker T. Washington. Booker T. Washington rises self-made. Booker T. Washington, teach us citizenship. We earn every right. Philanthropist, build Tuskegee, make scholars there. 40 pupils, 1 shed, soon thousands trained. Grant takes White House. Let us have peace, scars knit slow. We meet today united free, thank thee for the era, past trust thee for the door opening. The reunited nation has a birthday. The reunited nation has a birthday. 76 Philadelphia Fair. Whittier's Ode thanks the past century. Global gadgets crowd the hall. Child, magical toy, I hear another room. Alexander Graham Bell. No toy. Bell's telephone. Visitor. A lamp no flame? Visitor, stronger than fire, electric arc. DHRE years later. Thomas Edison perfected the incandescent bulb. 3 years on Edison wires, the glowing thread. A new link had been forged between the East and West. Coast-to-coast link, forged. Crowd, last bike driven. Engineer, 6 days coast-to-coast, not 6 weeks. 1869. Union Pacific kisses Eastern rails at Ogden. Iron rails poor settlers. Beef empires sprawl. After Remington. and the cowboy became a part of American song and story. Cowboy rides into song and story. P.E. Opal Hurd, the voice of a new poet, Walt Whitman, leads readers here. Walt Whitman. Nothing good ignores individuals. The American compact is with persons one by one, and of fresh slaughter sweat the country. Fresh laughter rolls the land. Tom Sawyer, Pirates, Huck, Bully Time. Huckleberry Finn, clothes ain't piratical. Twain's Raft Boys own the laugh. France sends liberty lifting shared light. Give me your tired and poor. I lift lamp beside the golden door. Industrial growth. Industrial growth. Industry balloons. Andrew Carnegie typifies the forge bosses. Young Carnegie. Where now, father? Father, Pittsburgh can wait. Mother, they'll find us work. 13. When the weaver steers them west across salt. Dad tends looms. Andy runs telegraph satchel. Andrew Carnegie, operator's chair, $4 a week. Mother, knew you'd rise, Andy. But she little dreamed how great a success. She never guessed the scale. Reporter, your ore ships feed the world's mightiest mill. Carnegie, you're reshaping the map. Andrew Carnegie, America gave the chance. I owe her back. Fortune must lift everyone. Carved over the arch. Library. Lawn sign. Carnegie Free Library. He bankrolls reading rooms, tech school, Peace League debt to America paid in stone, and the rise of organized labor. And organized labor rises. Samuel Gompers leads labor spread. Young Gompers, where to, father? Father, we stay in New York, cigar hands, always find bench room. English parents land him like Carnegie child of steamers. He rolls cigars. Joins at 14 next decade stands a bitter line. Wife, children hungry. How do we win? Samuel Gompers. Not today, union's frail, but we'll forge it strong. Strength draws siblings. 86. Samuel Gompers. Worker welfare, first. No revolution, demand partnership at the bench. American Federation of Labor, born Gompers, presides. 38 years steer the AFL strikes, panics, then muscle. Presidents seek his ear, always partnership, never class war finale. Advisor to presidents. Goal steady labor's good to partnership. Grange's birth. Populists. Fair crop prices. 8 hours. Free silver. Their champion was William Jennings Bryan. William Jennings Bryan carries the banner. William Jennings Bryan, you shall not crucify mankind on a cross of gold. 3 White House losses, yet populist planks slip into statute. Panic yields a partner society, vision class war framed obsolete. Centuries end. Every headline watches Cuba. Cubans rise on Spain. Yankee hearts side with rebels. In 1898. The new president, William M. McKinley. 1898. President McKinley sends Maine to guard citizens. Havana Harbor. Newsboy, extra, extra. Maine blown, 250 dead. Explosion rips. Blame uncertain fury, certain. Congress declares on Spain. Dewey dismantles Spain's Pacific Squadron off Manila. 100-Day War. Santiago seals it. Numbered Earth alone. Read labels on the 4-panel map page. Centuries end new American possessions stack. 1. Philippines from Spain. 2. Hawaii annexed. 3. Alaska bought from Russia. 4. Puerto Rico from Spain. Cuba. 5. ALSOCE deed by Spain was granted independence in 1902. Cuba number 5. Ceded freed in 1902. Some demand instant Philippine freedom. Most say slow schooling to self-rule. 1945, Philippine Republic born. America eyes, China trade behind new Pacific bases. Powers carve spheres, John Hay answers. John Hay, open door free China. Every flag may trade. Suppered Ted by England, Hay's open door. Policy, prevailed. Britain cosigns. Open door holds. 1901. McKinley falls, 43-year-old Vice President Theodore Roosevelt steps up. Pacific flag hopes mean Canton tea and silk for every port. Empires slice concessions. Hay clears throat. Rough Rider face Son's caption sound relies on prior panel's oath transfer. Steel, oil, rails cartelled. He demands federal supervision. Railroad trust sprawls floored. Editorial ink crowns him trustbuster. Teddy the Rough Rider still charges, now from the White House. Trusts in steel, oil, rails. He demands federal harness. Cartoons crown him trustbuster. Theodore Roosevelt, forest patrimony, no slash and grab for elites. He saves watersheds, pipes desert bloom. Peace broker. Portsmouth, Nobel Medal, 1905. Theodore Roosevelt. This prize ranks among life's highest honors. Roosevelt inherits France's ditch. Panama links two oceans. Pacific to Atlantic names. Balboa, Gatun, Canal ribbon stitches the isthmus. Columbus's wager paid world hulls ride the shortcut. Teddy was succeeded in 1909 by William Howard Taft. 1909, William Howard Taft follows Teddy. In 1900, the horseless carriage was a novelty, a rich man's toy. 1900 horseless carriage, rich man's toy. Boy, get a horse. But in a small machine shop at Dearborn, Michigan, Dearborn bench whispers otherwise. Boy, chasing a better machine, Mr. Ford? Henry Ford, cheaper for everybody, need floor space. Fordism rewires transport and wallet, cheap goods, fat paychecks, higher living workers even buy stock in the Visitor. One car hourly, $5 a day. Henry Ford. Yep, high wage, low price. That's the creed. Wilbur Wright shapes their motorcraft after European homework. They assembled it on a sand hill near Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Kitty Hawk Dunes host the assembly. MEAN Weil. In another machine shop at Dayton, Ohio. Dayton shop keeps separate sparks. Neighbor, no more bicycles, Mr. Wright. Milton Wright, too busy with their full flyer. On December 17, 1903. There, December 17, 1903. Witness, it flies. Witness, you mean, it flew. 12 seconds aloft. Modern airplane born. New ways of life and old D. New ways of life and old. There was another new toy in 1900. 1900 brings another gadget. Woman, goodness, the pictures move. Man, Edison's kinetoscope. Quite a parlor trick, eh? Peep show reels catch on. Europe tried cousins first within a few years. Woman, lonely country for a studio. Mr. Griffith, does this place have a name? D.W. Griffith. Yes, a ranch called Hollywood. Small towns that never had a theater farm. Families motor in for shows, chain groceries, 5 and dimes. America's face keeps reshaping. Movies reroute Saturday night. Farm traffic hits bijou marquees and chain aisles. Main Street redraws again. Progress doesn't bury the bargain schools open. Ideas circulate. Worship stays voluntary under heaven. Progress doesn't bury the bargain schools open. Ideas circulate. Worship stays voluntary under heaven. 1912 picks a new president against the brass era of trusts and gadget wealth. But the quiet scholar proved himself a fightin' reformer. The quiet scholar fights anyway. Woodrow Wilson. Scrub privilege banks serve enterprise, not rule it. New freedom banking rewired, tariffs cut, trusts leashed, hours shortened. Scholar, philosopher. Once Princeton's president. Crowds tilt. Allied Lusitania's torpedo kills over 100 Americans, yet most still hoped. But a heavier responsibility awaited Woodrow Wilson. In 1914, heavier weight waits. Wilson, 1914. In Europe. Headline: War in Europe. England. France allied against Germany. England and France banned against Germany. TAISE. Kaiser sketch under the fold. Man, well, not America's fight. Win Wilson. Placard. Win with Wilson. He kept us out of war. Wilson. Background chant. Wilson. Who want peace. Want peace. Newsy. He was re-elected in 1916 as the peace president. so 1916 rechristens him the Peace President. But in January 1917, Berlin resumes unrestricted U-boats, 2 months, 8 American hulls gone. On April 2, 1917, Wilson appeared before Congress. April 2, 1917, Wilson faces Congress. Woodrow Wilson, submarine war strikes mankind. We accept, must make the world safe for democracy. Thus, BYACTion of Congress, did America enter the First World War? Congress votes. America steps into the Great War. Industry, labor, farms. One pipeline pours arms and grain the exhausted Allies need. Troopships trail behind. Industry, labor, farms. One pipeline pours arms and grain the exhausted Allies need. Troopships trail behind. Doughboys fill French roads. An officer stops at a Paris grave. American officer, Lafayette, we are here. Summer, 1 million. Yanks share muddy berths with spent Allies. Chateau Thierry, Belleau Wood, they slammed the German lunge toward Paris. That autumn, Meuse. Argonne shoves the line, general retreat stirs. Wilson tables 14 points for a just peace. They include freedom of the seas, freedom of the seas, trade between nations, free trade between nations, self-determination of peoples, self-determination of peoples, a league of nations, a league of nations. On the basis of the 14 points, Germany asked for an armistice. On those terms, Germany asks for armistice. The armistice was signed on November 11, 1918. All over America. Armistice. Inked, November 11, 1918, coast to coast. Times Square roasts the sky. Victory cheer wrapped in a prayer that war ends war. Woodrow Wilson, at least, gentlemen, we agree on the League. Delegate, yes, President Wilson, we agree. Wilson tours pleading, League whistle stops everywhere. Colorado night breaks him, stroke he won't walk back from. 1920 slams. Democrats' first ballot women carry nationwide. Warren G. Harding was elected with his slogan of Back to Normalcy. Harding wins on Back to Normalcy in Setchin portrait. Charles Evans Hughes, only way to disarm is to disarm. 30 U.S. hull scrapped. Rivals match headlines call it peace math. The Post. War 20s. Post-war 20s. Adjustment done. Boom decade. Floods assembly lots. Arts ferment. Gershwin blue notes circle the globe. Lewis, Hemingway, Fitzgerald. Top borrowing lists. 27. Lone Eagle lifts spirit toward Atlantic dusk. Spectator, look, there he comes. Spectator, Lindy, he made it. Paris landing rents tomorrow's airline seats. Radio tubes and talkies wire living rooms coast to coast. Radio and sound film crowd the ether together. Boom skips the furrows. Paper-rich rest on thin ink. Farmer, good crop might not pay to truck it. Finally, Ian October 1929. October 29. Businessman, ruined. My shop's gone. Investor, life savings, wiped. Stock market collapses. Headline. Stock market collapses. Thousands are ruined. Or pair, thousands ruined. Crash drags wages, exports, output. Unemployment rolls fatten worldwide. Hoover Relief Fed follows Coolidge owns federal duty to the economy. RFC props firms, buys grain, pours concrete. But sickness spans oceans. Trouble ballots flip parties. 32 raises a new Democrat. Franklin Roosevelt. Only thing we have to fear is fear itself. TR's cousin New Deal grabs emergency levers against the slump. The 30s and the New Deal. 30s and the New Deal. In 100 days. Inside 100 days. Bank deposits insured. Bank deposits insured. Unemployed to be fed and clothed. Unemployed fed and clothed. Huge public works. Launched thousands of jobs to be created. Huge public works. Thousands of jobs. Aid. Granted to farmers. Forced sale of farms. Halted. Farm aid forced sales halted. CCC ships, Boys to Woods payroll. CCC worker, never this far from a city before. CCC worker, neither have I, but I like this. Lab worker, this lab job finishes tuition. Lab worker, and I'm earning mid-school rent here. WPA hires every skill: roads, housing, slums, schools. Paycheck spread. CCC ships, Boys to Woods payroll. CCC worker, never this far from a city before. CCC worker, neither have I, but I like this. TVA, chains, dams, flood breaks, and kilowatts for Valley Farms. September 1939. September 1939. Hitler invades Poland. Headline: Hitler invades Poland. England, Franks declare war on Germany. England and France declare on Germany. Again, most Americans favored the Allies. Again, crowds lean Allied. Man, anti-fascism is everybody's fight. Woman, Nazi win threatens the whole world. Older man, still America must stay out. Roosevelt spins. Lend lease guns and planes, lease abroad. Franklin Roosevelt. We must be democracy's great arsenal. In August 1941, Roosevelt meets Churchill somewhere in the Atlantic. Aid critics fear Lend-Lease drags U.S. toward war. Then, on Deck 7, 1941. Then, December 7, 1941, Japanese planes hit Pearl, damage enormous. Berlin and Rome declare on America. Overnight unity sets jaw. Homeline spin again. Women, kids, graybeards. Riveter, last week, I waited tables. Riveter, I kept house, now I keep rivets. Or, a regidor, it corregidor. Soldier, your boat waits, General MacArthur. Douglas MacArthur. Orders bind me, but I shall return. Dark months followed. Then, late in 1942. Dark months, then late 42. Americans weighed in beside British and Free French drive rolls toward Italy. Pacific crawl, each coral toll island by island. England stacks the largest army yet, mostly British and American. Ike commands. Red Army bends the east. Eisenhower lines up. West Wall breach. Headed by Free French troops, the Allies marched into Paris. Free French van enters Paris. June 44, British and American armies under Eisenhower flood Normandy beaches. Months of bitter fighting push inside Germany, meet Russian spearheads from the east. Germany totters. Roosevelt, Churchill, Stalin meet at Yalta early 45. Stalin trades Pacific entry for Far East acreage. Roosevelt misses VE, dies weeks after Yalta. ALL over the world, millions mourned. Millions mourn worldwide. A month later, on May 8. A month later, May 8th, Germany has surrendered. Germany has surrendered. Soldier, at last. Soldier, thank God. Now, the new president, Harry S. Truman, faced a terrible decision. President Truman faces awful arithmetic. Allied labs leash the atom. Use it on Japan? Truman bets dread cuts war costs net, plus lives. August 2 atom raids, 2 weeks later. Allied labs leash the atom. Use it on Japan. Aboard battleship Missouri, MacArthur takes Japan's surrender. 51 nations. San Francisco Charter promises peace and progress. The United Nations is born. Americans give thanks again, like Wilderness Fathers, for bounty and for freedom's lamp kept lit. Fitting to close America's story at the United Nations founding. War's long night ends. New dawn bright with hope there have. No final page for a living nation pen lifts while history runs. Since this book began, America picked Eisenhower. You've seen him here. So we close at the UN war night ends. Hope dawns. Disappointment since, but great hope stays. Story keeps questing, chance, comfort, craft. Above all, freedom, mind and spirit, equal before heaven. The United States of America. The United States of America. Distributed by United States Information Service. Distributed by United States Information Service.